you liking the equipment to train your hamstrings and glutes at the moment, or do you just find the sprinter's physique being really impressive and you want to give sprints a go for yourself as well? In this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 reasons you want to consider adding sprints or hill sprints into your workout. Reason number 1 is going to be, it's a great way to develop muscle mass in your hamstrings and in your glutes. So if you look at sprinters, they have arguably the best hamstrings and glutes in the athletic world. People might disagree and agree with that, but in general they have very developed hamstrings and glutes. Now of course there are many factors that come into play here, one being genetics. So usually you end up into sprinting because you're naturally good at it, and usually sprinters also have genetics for building muscle mass somewhat easily. So of course take that into account, that definitely plays a role. The other thing is they of course do other than sprints, they also do Olympic weightlifting, they do traditional strength exercises as well, and they train very often, so they have a lot of training frequency in there. So those things of course they play a role in their hamstring development. But what they do most of is sprints. They do a lot of sprinting. Here I want to mention the story that Sal and Josh from Mindpump TV mentioned. So both of them did some sprints and hill sprints, and they noticed that during that time period that their legs grew a lot.
I used to do hill sprints and I noticed the same thing. I got great muscle development out of my quads, and my legs overall grew as I was doing these hill sprints.
Sal actually mentioned that his legs are prone to growing a lot. So he's genetically gifted when it comes to building muscle mass in his lower body. So that probably plays a big role, or why he was able to build significant muscle mass with sprints. But even if you don't have those genetics, like I definitely don't have those genetics, you can still get some gains in your hamstrings and glutes with hill sprints. And I would say that when it comes to building muscle mass, I would say hill sprints are maybe more advantageous than sprints on a flat ground, because since you're sprinting up hills, you're moving against more resistance, and in my logic that would also be more beneficial for hypertrophy. Now here some of you might be thinking, okay, if that's such a great way to develop your hamstrings and glutes, why aren't just bodybuilders doing only hill sprints for their lower body? That's a great question. One of the key components for hypertrophy, so building muscle mass, is volume, and sprints can be quite taxing for the body, and therefore might be difficult to get enough volume in your sprints.
And hey, if you get some value from this video, then why don't you go ahead and subscribe to the channel right there for more similar videos in the future.
The second reason to add sprints into your workout is that it's a great way to practice force production. And another example I'm gonna tie in here is again, Sal from Mindpump. He mentioned that he did hill sprints for some time. I noticed that his back squat increased, so he was able to lift more weight in his back squat, and that's probably because of the force production that he practiced so much on when doing hill sprints.
There was a hill that I used to drive to that was by my personal training studio, and there was one summer when I'm like, I'm gonna try doing some sprints. I want to get leaner or whatever. And they were short sprints. It was like 30-yard, fast as hard as I can up a hill.
Right.
And so it was kind of like weight training. And the side effect of it was my squats went up in the gym.
And reason number 3 is going to be, it's a great way to keep your central nervous system sharp. So because sprinting is an explosive exercise, it's a more or less all-in performance. It's a really awesome way to just keep your central nervous system sharp and effective, instead of having it be really loose and soft in a way. Reason number 4 is going to be, it's a great way to age with grace. Now of course every single exercise form is great for aging with grace, but the reason why I added sprints in here is because I mentioned it's a great way to train your type 2 muscle fibers and your type 2X muscle fibers, and those are the muscle fibers that we tend to lose first as we start aging. So if you had some explosive exercise in there, and it could be any form, but for example hill sprints, well, you could slow down the atrophy of your type 2X muscle fibers and keep them for a long duration of your life. And reason number 5 is that it's simply a fun way to train. It's something different. It's gonna mix up your training a little bit. It's a cool way to mix things up in your training. It's fun to be outside as well. So training outdoors, it's exciting. You get some sunlight at the same time, and you also sort of feel like an athlete a little bit. So for that reason, also I recommend hill sprints. The key, of course, with training is to train, ideally for your whole life. And it's important that you have things that you enjoy doing and mix things up, keep it interesting for you. And I think hill sprints have a really awesome place in there during summer. If you live in a country where you always have a summer, then you can do hill sprints all the time. If you live in, for example, I live in Finland, you can't really do hill sprints during winter. It's gonna be slippery, you're gonna die. it's not a good risk versus reward if you die during your workout. But during summer, Finns and Nordic people in general, we always, if the sun is out, we have an excuse to just be outside and take our shirts off. Even if we're at the bank, we just take our shirts off because the sun is out. That's a very strange logic we use here. But you know, if you do hill sprints, it's a fun way to be outside in the sun, you know, get a tan on, feel like an athlete, get a workout in. It's just a cool way to mix things up in your training. And the bonus benefit specifically for hill sprints is that because you move slower on a hill sprint compared to a flat sprint, your limbs are also moving slower, and that's why it could potentially be safer for some people to do hill sprints compared to sprints on a flat ground. Hope you got some value from this video. Hope you give hill sprints a go and see if you like them. That being said, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.